Okay, this is a recording regarding the PreMid closed book, part 2, tomorrow. And it's just to say that hopefully you have your, there's a couple people who have not responded to me with their proctor information. If that happens to be you, remind yourself to get that email out to me by the proctor, or an email with the proctor's email address that they're awaiting my instructions and password to take the test tomorrow. Regarding the test tomorrow, hopefully the PreMid part 1, the open book quiz, was actually enough preparation for you tomorrow. With one caveat, I would highly encourage people to really study, even if they did well, very well. In most cases, I think the average on PreMid Part 1 was 93%. But there were a few people, at least 2 people, that didn't do all that well on it. And the point is, don't give yourself a false sense of security in getting a great grade, but then not committing things to memory and really absorbing the material to take it closed book tomorrow. Maybe in past history, there's a difference of 5% across the full scope of things, but because everyone did so well, I don't know if it's going to be 5% difference, maybe 0% difference. But and if you heed my encouragement to really study, and especially those areas you were maybe a little had to look up the book on, that you commit those to memory, since it'll be closed book tomorrow. And I think that's an obvious thing, but I like to encourage people anyway, because there is that issue. A couple little questions that there might be like 10 questions or so that were more marked wrong than others. One is that a query language is a procedural language. That's false, because it is not. And I can't expect everyone to know programming, so that might just be one of those things that you have to memorize, and not knowing what procedural language is. But real quick, select, for example, that one statement does a lot, and you don't have any control over the processing of instructions within, as you would in a general purpose procedural language environment. So I'll just let it go instead of telling you about looping and redirecting instructions and that sort of thing. Okay, another one is when it talks about a programmer and a utility that is used to create code, that would be an application program versus a query. Even though a small case, it might be a little ambiguous there, that question, so I bring that up. Even because you could make a point that a query might also be in that realm, but it's much more applicable to say application program. So if you had a choice between those, definitely application program would be the one. Okay, your answer to a query is known as a result table or result set. Okay, ad hoc query means something like a one-time event. Okay, you're thinking of what is the average of database students across CIS 1200 and CIS 2515 in the last 2 years? I just thought of that question. That would be an example of an ad hoc query. That's a specific item, a type of query. Okay, not to be confused with the result set. Online analytical processing is to be distinguished from online transaction processing. We're going to have a whole half of a week or more, maybe a whole week, based on that whole topic. But the definition is all you need to really know, and that is transactions are oriented around day-to-day processing, and analytical processing, which the acronym would be OLAP, versus OLTP on transaction processing, is in the decision support environment or data analysis environment. There was some unstructured versus structured. Database is structured if in the relational database world. We have other items like big data and so forth to handle highly semi-structured or unstructured data. Okay, and database designers don't dictate the information. End user communities, business people would. It's the database designer to come up with what the real business is from those people and then do the design. But no, it's not the database designer or information engineer that comes up with that. Okay. Many relationships need to be resolved because in the relational database model, we have no capability for many relationships. We break that down into two one-to-manys, and that extra entity that we come up with is known synonymously as either associative or composite or bridge entity. Okay, constraints are used to ensure integrity, whether it's entity integrity or relationship integrity, also known as referential integrity. Okay, so I see we have another person join us. I'm just recording right now, and I'll take questions a little bit later. The object-oriented world, you can think of two major things, semantic and inheritance. Semantic is referring to meaning, because in the object-oriented world, we also put some processing methods and rules and behavior, if you will, in along with the data, and then that's inherited to other objects. Not to get into deep, but those are just the definitions. Also, a word of note, E.F. Codd, who came up with relational theory, he uses the term relation to refer to table. And Oracle, I've warned people about this before, but here's a very good point. Oracle uses the term relation to refer to relationships. So, and I want to make sure that this is using the textbook's vocabulary. So there is a distinction made. So if the test comes up, or if it talks about E.F. Codd, what did he call it, etc., it's relation is a table. Don't say that it is a relationship. Character data versus numeric data types. If you want to use anything in mathematical manipulation or calculation, make sure that you use numeric data. You can do math on dates and so forth, but character data is not intended for mathematical manipulation. So for example, commission rate. You'll notice in the inserts, there's examples of having quotes around it. They should not have quotes around it. But what Oracle does is, and other DBMSs aren't so kind, what Oracle does, and it could be configured differently, Oracle will convert it on the fly without giving you an error message. Okay. Determination. Determination is between attributes, and if you know the value of one or more attributes, and if that determines values of other attributes, that's called a determination. If it's a one-to-one, it's a functional determination. If it supplies many values on the dependency side, that's called a multi-determination, even though the book doesn't talk about the multi. So I leave that question out, but I'll refer to the adjective functional determination, and that refers to a one-to-one relationship. Okay, foreign keys are not in both tables. They're only in the child. We have the common attributes that are in both tables for two tables that are related, but the foreign key is only in the child. Now, an entity could be both a parent and a child, a parent over another table that's its associated child, but it could also be a child itself of a parent above it. In that case, you could say there's two foreign keys, but no, in a relationship, we would say that the common attributes only have a foreign key that's in the child. Okay, I think I'm wrapping up here. Outer join versus inner join. When you have and we'll definitely see this when we get to coding SQL with this in mind, but as a abstract topic, when common attributes, their values are equal, we would say that those instances or rows of the tables, the related tables, are related to one another. Anyway, when those values are equal, we call that an inner join, and that would not allow us to report on, let's say a prof has many classes and a class has one prof. Well, the foreign key of prof ID, let's say, would be in the child class. Okay, so let's just say that if you put um, a join together based on an inner join, we would not get all profs, because if we have a new hire of a prof that has never taught a class yet, they've yet to do it in the upcoming year, let's say, that prof would not get in our report because there would be no match in any of the class rows. Okay, well, so then we need something like an outer join, and we could go left or right or full. But if it's an outer join, we could say left outer join if we refer to prof and then class, and that would give all profs, even if they don't teach a class. We'll see that much more later, but that's the quick one on the definition there. Okay, I think that's about it. I maybe would refer to a logical data type that's either true or false, yes or no. It just has two values to it. Like has a student withdrawn, that's either a yes or no. So, okay, I think that should do it. Or those areas where more than one person maybe have got a question wrong. And I hope that really helps. Let me stop the recording.